Michelle was scheduled to have a total knee replacement. Her knee was swollen, it was in pain, and she could even feel it grinding when she moved. She couldn't even walk down the stairs without grabbing onto the handrail for dear life. She didn't want to have such a major surgery, but she wasn't sure what else she could do given that she had tried everything. It wasn't until she saw one of my videos where she thought, okay, what do I have to lose? In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 3 of the exact exercises that help Michelle get back to being able to walk for miles without having that same chronic pain and stiffness in her knee. And I'm going to explain why this approach was able to help her ultimately cancel her surgery, even when everything else she had previously tried did not work. So in most traditional therapy programs for knee pain, practitioners tend to focus on the knee because that's where it hurts. But unfortunately, oftentimes this can actually make your pain worse. Ultimately, pain is just a protective response from your brain when it feels concerned about moving your body. And this is true even if you have structural damage, arthritis, bone on bone, etc. So if we could give your brain and your nervous system more reassurance about your body, it should send out less pain and stiffness to your knee. Okay, so hopefully these big picture concepts helps you get a little bit better understanding about what may be your underlying problem with your knee pain and how pain actually works. So before we get into the 3 exercises today, the first thing we need to do is go through an assessment protocol. So how do you know if what you're doing is helping you, having no impact, or potentially making you worse? Well, you have to check in and assess your body. So assessments are always individual and totally based off of what is meaningful and measurable to you. For some people, going for a nice walk through your apartment or your home can be a measurable assessment. For other people, it could be simply squatting or even sitting down and bending your knee. So it doesn't really matter what your assessment is, as long as you're able to take stock of how your knee is currently feeling at the time. You can think about your pain scale on a 1 through 10, 10 being a high level of pain, discomfort, stiffness, etc. 1 being you feel amazing. Kind of after you're going for a walk or doing some squats or bending your knee, like how do you currently feel? Don't have to think about how other people may judge your perception of pain. Again, it's all individual. So maybe it's, you're feeling a 5 or 6 today. As you're going through some of your movements as well, you can think, okay, what's the quality of that movement? As I'm bending down doing my squats, do I have a high level of pain or stiffness in my knee? Kind of how does that feel? Just check in with your body, give yourself a little bit of a score, and then we're going to come back and reevaluate after we do these next round of exercises. Your brain relies on different activation from systems in your body in order for you to move well without pain. Believe it or not, the number 1 most important system to do that is your visual system, your eyes. Your eyes are incredibly important because it gives your brain information about what's going on around you, what's happening in your environment. And your eyes also help initiate body movement. So if we can exercise your eyes and make sure that they're able to do the job that they're designed to do, the chances are that that will ultimately translate into a knee that is feeling and moving better are much greater. So before we actually want to work on mobilizing some joints around your knee, it can be very powerful to begin by focusing on a vision exercise. So the first exercise we're going to start with today is something called a vision saccade. And so what this exercise is simply moving your eyes between 2 stationary targets. So assuming that you have pain-free shoulders, what you're going to do is raise up your thumbs just like this. If for some reason that bothers you, you don't have to use your arms, but you could use maybe either a picture frame or a window frame. Just 2 targets, same height, that are not moving. And so again, assuming you're working with your arms, maybe you're raising your thumbs about eye level, maybe about 1 foot to 1.5 feet in distance. And I want you to try to keep your nose lined up in the center, not aligned to the right, not off to the left, but right in the center. And we don't want to move the head. All we want to do is move our eyes. So try to relax your shoulders, make sure you're breathing and not holding your breath, and you're just going to bring your eyes to the right thumbnail. As soon as you get some visual clarity, you're going to shift your eyes to the left, and then again back to the right. eyes left, eyes right, eyes left, eyes right, eyes left, eyes right. Pay attention that I'm not moving my head as I'm shifting with my eyes. My head is steady, not moving. Only my eyes are moving horizontally, left to right, right to left, etc. If you begin that exercise looking at your right thumbnail, maybe you could do about 10 to 20 reps. Then you could put hands back up and initiate with eyes moving to the left to start with. So vision saccade, very simple exercise. Why it's powerful and can help relieve knee pain is because it works a part of your brain called your cerebellum. Cerebellum lives back here, the back of the skull, and what it's responsible for doing is what's called the ABCs of movement. That's accuracy, balance, and coordination. Oftentimes, we don't do exercises that give that part of our brain enough stimulation, whether it's moving our eyes or moving other areas of our body. And if for some reason that area of the brain is not active and alive enough, that can translate into issues with your knee, whether that's chronic pain, stiffness, etc. So when we're doing this simple exercise, that could be enough activation of that area of our brain to provide immediate relief to pain and stiffness in the knee. After you practice the exercise, what I'd like you to go back and do is reassess. Check your gait, your walk, try to bend down, touch your toes, bend your knee, practice a few squats, and see if you notice a change in your level of pain and stiffness. Okay, so the next exercise we're going to be working on is something called a foot wave. Now, we're not going to focus directly on the knee. We're going to work the big joint right below it, which is your ankle. Connected to your ankle are your toes and your foot. In my experience helping active women over the age of 50 is that many of them have problems with their toes and their feet. Bunions, hammer toes, a really stiff ankle and foot that doesn't have a lot of circulation, wearing the wrong shoes for many years and decades in their life. And oftentimes the foot and the toes are just an area of the body that become neglected. So simply working on restoring some mobility, mind-body connection, developing more strength and circulation, opening up some of the stiff joints and developing a little bit more strength in the musculature in that area can be very powerful exercises and tools to help you reduce chronic knee pain and stiffness. The foot wave is a great exercise because it's going to help work the toes and the foot at the same time. So if you watch me, and we're going to start with the foot extended up just like this. That's called dorsiflexion. So at the top of the movement, what I want you to do is try to reach up towards the ceiling with your toes. Try to get a little bit of room and separation in between your toes to the best of your ability. Now mine are a little bit stuck, so this is something I also need to work on more. At the top of the movement, what I want you to think of is that someone is bringing a pencil right underneath your toes. And what you're trying to do is grab a hold of that pencil while your foot is raised. Once you've gotten a hold of that pencil, I want you to press your foot down. That's called plantar flexion. If you haven't done this exercise in a long time or ever, you may notice it. You just begin to get a little cramp at the bottom of your foot. That's okay. Just means you need to work that foot more often. Now what I'd like you to do is open up your toes while you're keeping your foot flexed at the bottom of the movement, and then you're going to raise your foot as high as you can. At the top of the movement, I want you to try to separate and get some space in between your toes. Again, imagine someone's inserting a pencil underneath the toes. You're going to grip that pencil as hard as you can. Now flex your foot all the way down at the bottom of the movement, squeeze, and then open up your toes while you're keeping your foot down as far as you can. Keep the toes up, raise the foot up, and then finally curl the toes and then flex the foot down. Toes up, toes down, foot down. Toes up, toes down, foot down. So once you get a little bit of motor control, you could start to develop a little bit of a rhythm. I notice that it looks like a wave. So that's the idea of the exercise. So I'm going to zoom in and show you a little bit more in close. Okay, so switching feet, if you were to look at me from the side, right, sitting down, as most of you guys will probably be doing this at home. Here I am, nice and relaxed. I've got my leg out extended in front of me. I'm going to raise my foot and my toes towards the ceiling. Try to separate my toes, spread them, get some separation in between them. Then I'm going to curl my toes. Try to grip that imaginary pen as hard as I can. Then I'm going to press my foot down towards the ground, squeeze the arch of my foot. May feel a cramp. At the bottom of the movement, I want you to open up your toes while your foot's pressed down. When the toes are separated as much as they can, I want you to raise your foot. At the top of the movement, curl those toes down, grab that imaginary pencil, flex your foot all the way down, squeeze the bottom of the foot, raise and separate the toes, and then raise the foot. Stretch the calf, curl the toes, press the foot down. Open the toes, raise the foot, curl the toes, press the foot. Toes up, toes down, foot down. Toes up, toes down, foot down. So, pretty simple. Give that exercise a shot, maybe 10 repetitions per foot, and then reassess. Okay, so after performing the foot wave exercise and you've gone through your assessment, hopefully you're able to get a sense of, okay, wow, after moving my foot, my toes, my ankle, etc., I was able to walk and I had less pain and stiffness in my knee. Maybe my gait was a little bit smoother. Those are the kinds of things we're looking for, right? Sometimes it could be a big change, other times it could be a little bit more subtle, kind of depending on your personality, your background, your issue, etc. So it may be helpful to just take a pen and jot down a few notes as you're going through this video. So last but not least, we're going to work the actual knee where you have pain itself. So notice our progression. First, we start with your vision because your eyes give your brain so much awareness about what's going on around you and help initiate movement. We start with that first. Second exercise we do is actually work the joint or work the area beneath the knee where you're having your problem. In this case, today we worked on a foot wave, developing good mobility, coordination, and strength within your foot and toes. Last but not least, we're finally going to get to the area where you have the problem. So we're going to work the knee joint itself, something called an open chain knee circle. Open just means disconnected. So if I were to do a closed chain knee circle, my foot would be making contact with the ground while I mobilize my knee. But today we're going to do an open chain version. So this can be a really great exercise. It helped Michele a lot, and hopefully it can help you too. So what you're going to be doing is standing up nice and tall. If I'm going to work my right knee, I may grab something with my left hand just to get a little bit more support and stability. And what you're going to do is first, actually, I want you to rub that knee, rub that right knee that's giving you trouble. So you have a little bit of that brain-body connection to the area. You're going to raise your leg. And slowly but surely, I want you to draw a nice circle with your shin around your knee. So this isn't a linear movement where I'm just bending my knee forward and backwards, but I'm actually drawing a circle. So this is a counterclockwise circle. So I start with my leg extended. I bring my foot and my shin in. I bend my knee as deeply as I can without having pain. Pull it back behind me. Then I begin to rotate out, away from my body until I again fully extend. So we want, ideally, to get as much range of motion within your knee joint as possible, as long as you do not cause more pain or irritation. If this causes you discomfort in that knee that we're trying to work on, I need you to do something to make the movement a little bit easier. So maybe you have a smaller range of motion. Maybe instead of doing 10 repetitions, you do 5 or 3. But the goal is just to get a little bit of movement within that leg. Oftentimes, this may cause you to have some more awareness of the standing leg because obviously it's providing you stability throughout the entirety of the movement. So if you need to kind of shake both legs off, you could do that, not a problem. And then we need to go the other direction. So we're going to go clockwise. So you're going to extend the leg, bring your foot out towards 3 o'clock, bend that knee, bring the foot towards 6, rotate, foot towards 9, and then noon. So 12, 3, 6, 9, and noon, right? We're just doing a nice circle. So you can start with a big circle. You could go with a small circle. Doesn't really matter as long as you can get just a little bit of movement in there. So we had counterclockwise, and then we're going to do clockwise circles. And then again, shake it off. So obviously I just demonstrated for the right knee. But if your issue is in the left leg, you would focus on moving the left knee, right, through a full range of motion. If you had problems with both knees, you would work both, right? So this exercise is called open chain knee circles. It could be a great way for you to get a little bit of movement within that problem area. When your brain senses that you have control and you can move an area of your body, it feels more connected, and therefore it has less reason to send out pain and stiffness as a protective response. So after you do your repetitions, going clockwise and counterclockwise, again, making sure that you're not moving into pain. If you notice that you are developing more pain and stiffness, they're kind of pulling back and you're trying to find a way that you can do the exercise and that it feels good. So after you do that exercise, I want you to reassess, go for another walk, bend down, touch your toes, try to bend your knee and do a few squats if that is relevant to you, and just to see how you're feeling after you do that exercise. Okay, so today I showed you 3 of the exact same exercises to help Michele go from a swollen knee that gave her grinding sensation. She could hear it, she could feel it, and that gave her chronic knee pain. She went from being in that condition, scheduled to have a total knee replacement, to ultimately being able to cancel her surgery and return to being able to walk for miles without having any pain. These were 3 of the favorite exercises that she had while we were working together. So what did we work on? We worked, number 1, on your eyes, vision saccade. We worked on that exercise because working your eyes often tells your body how to move. So we do that first before we actually work on some of the areas that may be providing you problems. After we worked on the vision exercise, we worked on developing better mobility and coordination within your foot. Oftentimes, women over 50 tend to have a lot of issues with their toes and with their foot. So if we can work on getting better mobility, improving that brain-body connection, developing some coordination, and working those toes. Can I move my toes independently? Once we worked on developing better mobility within your toes, foot, and ankle, we worked on the knee or the problem itself. And the last exercise we worked on is something called an open chain knee circle. This was a great exercise for Michele because it really helped kind of unlock some of the stiffness that she was encountering with her knee. Again, it's really important that you don't exacerbate or you move into pain. So if any of these exercises tends to cause you more of a problem, just have to think about how can I do the exercise that is kind of less threatening to my body. Maybe instead of standing up, I need to sit down. Maybe instead of doing 10 repetitions, I cut it and do it by 50%. Maybe instead of doing a big range of motion, I move my leg and my knee just in a more restricted area. What we're doing by improving your vision and improving the way that you're moving, whether that's in the joint below your knee or it's whether it's in the knee itself, all of these exercises are giving your brain more awareness about what's going on in your environment and with your body. When your brain feels more connected to your body, it has less reason to send out pain and stiffness to your knee. So after you did those exercises, hopefully you're doing kind of one last check-in, comparing how you feel at the beginning of today's video and how you're feeling now. And if you did the exercises right, and if these exercises were meant for you, you should feel less pain, less stiffness, and that your overall quality of movement or your gait is smoother, right? Those are the things we're looking for. Over the past 10 years, I've been able to help hundreds of women solve their chronic knee pain and get back to enjoying an active life by improving the brain-body connection. And the best part about it is that this approach works even if you've been told you have osteoarthritis and are bone on bone. So if you found this video helpful, I always appreciate your support. If you could click the like button below and subscribe to my channel, that would be amazing. In addition to that, if you're an active woman over the age of 50 and you've really been struggling with chronic knee pain, you've tried everything under the sun but have yet to find a lasting solution, I invite you to join my free Get Out of Knee Pain challenge that's going to be running next week, Monday through Friday, 5-day challenge, where we're going to be going over a lot of the same big picture concepts and many different exercises that are going to help you feel and move better and give you a window into what your life could be like when you utilize this concept. So if you're interested in joining our live Get Out of Knee Pain challenge starting on this coming Monday, click the button below and it's going to take you to a page that tells you a bunch more. And you can find that at the bottom of this video and at the home screen. So thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.